Hello, I'm going to be demoing the December block for us. Here is a sample made up of the December block. It looks a little bit complicated, but like most quit blocks, we can break it down into like just 3 basic pieces and put it all together. We're going to start with these corner blocks here, the ones with our like half square triangles. So just like with cutting instructions with normal, make sure that you're cutting out the bigger pieces first and then the smaller pieces. It always works out better that way. So you will need to make, uh, we'll need to make 4 half square triangles. I already have some of them made. If you don't have a sewing fairy like I do, make sure to mark your center line so when you sew them, you have that even distribution on either side. I'm going to line that up. As always, if you feel like it might slip on you, put a couple of pins in it. If you don't feel like living on the edge like I do. So I'm going to sew on a 1/4 of an inch away from either side of that line down the center. Okay. And then I'm going to go and cut on that line that I put in. Oh, you should see me with I cut out patterns like freehand. I just go for it. But you can use scissors or a ruler to help you if you're not feeling spicy with the rotary cutter. So we're going to press it flat once. And then I'm always going to try to press towards the darker fabric so we don't see the shadow of our seam in the back as much. So I'm going to press towards the black. Okay. So I'm just going to come back and trim off these dog ears real quick on either side again. Use scissors or a ruler if you're not comfortable with just freehanding with the rotary cutter. So now I'm going to come back and sew one of the 2.5 inch squares on the other side of this. So I'm going to make 2 blocks that look like this. You would need to make 4 if you don't have a sewing fairy who's done half the work for you. So. And then we want to make sure that the white, we're sewing it on the black side. So I'm making sure that that seam is going to be sewn on the black side. Another quick press real quick. I'm going to press this one towards the white this time just because there's going to be less bulk in the seam that way. So now I have 2. You will have 4 blocks that look like this. So the other half of the block we have left is just a white and a green. This guy here. So I'm going to make just 1 more of those. And I will press that towards the green since it's the darker fabric. So now I'm going to take all my pieces and put them together. So it's basically just a like a 4 square, just with a couple more steps. So I'm making sure to line it up so it's the whites are opposite of each other. We don't want them next to each other like this. We want to make sure that they're catty corner and that the black is touching the green. We'll throw the pin in that seam just to make it line up as well as I can. So now you should have 4 corner blocks. That look like this. And remember, like, just this is natural that the corners don't match up at the edge because, you know, we still have another seam to sew here later. Well, when you put the whole quilt together. So those won't go complete to the edge right now. So I'm going to set my 4 corner blocks aside. And then I'm going to work on our other block here, which is pretty simple. So this guy. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the remaining of the white 2.5-inch squares and mark the diagonal on them like my sewing fairy already has for me. So it has our diagonal marked. Don't get these confused with your bigger squares for the half square triangles. You're going to have a bad time. So like when I was setting up the block for myself, I put them next to each other and was like, these are bigger. I'm going to do these first and then come back to the smaller ones. So don't be afraid to do that. So what we're going to do is we are going to line up this guy in just one of the corners here. And I'm going to, I believe, sew on the line. So you have to go against your will to sew at the 1/4 inch away. We're going to be sewing on the line for this. I think it's put in bold, on the line. So I'm actually going to switch my stitch back to a center one here, just to make it a little bit easier for myself. So after we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and trim the excess down to 1/4 of an inch. I will let anybody come up here and measure that if they want to. It's pretty close. I will be holding the rotary cutter while you measure it, just, you know. So I'm going to press that up. Now we have one corner, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And make sure you do that ironing well the first time, because you are going to sew back across this. So if you've like not ironed it well, it might cause you trouble with the next seam. So I'm going to line that back up on the corner. And then sew again down our line. If you've done flying geese before, this is one of the 2 ways you can do flying geese. It's a little bit more wasteful, but sometimes it's easier. We're going to trim that down. Iron it flat. And then we'll iron it up. So now, once you've done that 3 more times, you'll have 4 of these. So we're actually ready to lay out our block now. So let's do this correctly this time. So we have our center block that's kind of just been chilling to the side for now. Give him a nice little press. He's going to go in the center. The bigger part of these all point away from our block. And then make sure I'm putting this the right way. Yeah, it's a very pretty block. It looks a lot more complicated than it is, in my opinion. So then we're just going to go through and do some seams real quick. The nice part is between these 2 blocks, there's not really a hard point to match up. These should be pretty close, but it's not as hard as a line as most. Oh. And make sure after you've done your straight stitch that you're back on your 1/4 inch. For this, I'm going to make sure to press the top and bottom rows in a different direction than the middle row, just so my seams nest nicely together. So I'm going to press these arbitrarily to the left, and then my other ones arbitrarily to the right. So our most important seam matching is going to happen at this point here. So that's one row on. My points are pretty close. Needle came unthreaded. Luckily, this machine here's got the needle threader. Give it a press real quick. Let's got the clip. I'll let these final seams probably press in just because it will give it the least amount of bulk. I say do whatever you need to help with your next set of strips. If it's just sashing, it's going to give you the least amount of bulk on the seams. There you go. There's the block for this month.